What's up? What's up? What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to TDPHINSTALK, home of the real Miami Dolphin fans. We are live here on Thursday night with Thursday Night Details with Dwyanne Woods. Now, y'all already know what time it is on Thursday nights. We go into some in-depth conversations about different things in regards to the game of football to better our knowledge. But it seems to have been some news that came out that a lot of people want to discuss. So me and Dwayne pretty much recommended. Let's open the show up talking about this Jamal Adams situation. So hold on now. Jamal Adams to Miami? What's up, y'all? Jamal Adams to Miami? Y'all talk to us, man. Is this a possibility? I know what it is, but a lot of people have their thought process behind it. And I'm going to tell you, Dwayne, man, well, let me ask you, I'm going to fill you in on the details of everything that's going on because I know you say that you woke up to this news. But do you think Miami's on the phone talking to Adam Gase?
You know what? I think that they're inquisitive about it and sending out little feelers, maybe not directly, but that third party, just sending a feeler out to see what the possibilities are for a possible trade. Which, if you ask me, any GM worth his salt would be doing. So if it's direct or indirect, third party using a pseudo rep, whatever the case may be, it would be prudent and well within the requirements of a GM to seek what it would take to get a Jamal Adams on the team.
See, so with that being said, I know you said it depends on what it's going to take. Well, we actually got some news on that, okay? I mean, not definitive news, but let me qualify that. But hold on, let me write this title: Jamal Adams to Miami ? I gotta ask the people, man. Jamal Adams to Miami. So let me qualify that. Before all this went down, there's reports that came out that the Jets actually did let people know if they were to entertain it, what they would be looking for. And the price that came out today is that the Jets were asking for a first and a third round pick. So that was the price before he made it public. I want out. Trade me. And everybody knows as soon as a player says it vocally and out in front of everybody, trade me, that price just dropped significantly.
Yeah.
It just dropped significantly. So that first and the third, I couldn't imagine the Jets getting that. But if they were to get it, then they just robbed the team.
Right now, after that situation that just happened, I would say second and a fifth and a player. Second, a fifth, and a player.
But what player? I mean, that could be loaded, Dwayne. What you talking about here?
What I'm talking about is probably a second, a fifth, and a Cordray Tankersley. A second, a fifth, and maybe a Nick Needham. Because you gotta get, if you're getting the second and the fifth, and you're giving a player, you want it where that player can possibly fill in right now for that player. Not that he's of the same quality, but that he could fill in. Just the same way that we got Nick Needham or not Nick Needham. Who do we get in the Kiko Alonso trade that actually played some snaps for the Dolphins? You want somebody who could actually play some snaps.
Wait, where did Kiko go again?
Kiko went to New Orleans.
Who did we get? Oh my God!
I think it was Vince Beagle. Yeah, I think it was the linebacker. Yeah. So we got Beagle for Kiko Alonso and a draft pick. So you want to give it. I would go with a second or fifth, and maybe either a Nick Needham or a who did I say? A Bobby McCain. You know, somebody who or Cordray Tankersley, somebody who could play some snaps. Now that Bobby McCain part of it would only be if they refused those other two and the player was the deal breaker. Because if you're talking about somebody who's all pro and is young, you don't want to have it where a detail like a player, the third part of the third asset in the deal, would be the deal breaker. Well, now, if it was a matter of that second, fifth, and they said no, we want a fourth or a third, a second and a third for Jamal Adams and a player. Again, especially since the Dolphins have 2 number ones and 2 number 2s, you're not necessarily going to quibble over a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick.
Well, a part of it to me, Dwayne, is here. First of all, there's 2 players, in my opinion, who could very well be trade assets as a priority. Like I could see the Dolphins parting ways because of the contract coming up or a contract they want to get off of. Number 1 is Bobby McCain, and number 2 is Devon Godchow. So those are 2 that have strong possibilities of actually being a part of a trade. Do you see those 2 being a strong possibility?
That would be a good look at it from the Dolphins standpoint. But do the Jets really need a defensive end nose tackle at this point in time? I'm not sure of that. And as far as the Bobby McCain situation, like I said, that's why I put him up initially, just because of the contract and the fact that you want to have some semblance of balance, you know, to try to get the right value. Now, I know I'm not in the business of making a trade for the Jets. Okay, for the seasons.
I'm with this one.
But if they wanted to trade Jamal Adams, Bobby McCain, and a draft pick or 2 draft picks, I'd be for that. I would approve that trade. Number 1 draft picks, especially both, no. One next year and the one the following year, no, I'm not going for that scenario either. But since the situation has developed the way it has, I think now your starting point is a 2nd and a 5th, and then you negotiate up and down with those draft picks and those selections, rather than talking about 1st round draft picks. The Bobby McCain part of it, just to circle all the way back, you're getting, if you make that trade, you're getting a bona fide, certified, all-pro safety. In that, when you think about it, may even be an upgrade over Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I say that in air quotes, just for those persons who think that Jamal Adams isn't better than Minkah Fitzpatrick. I am of the agreement that he is. But even if you had that thought, you're still getting a quality safety in the same age bracket, same if not better talent, and you're taking away from your division rival, all in one shot. So I would go for the trade. And as far as Bobby McCain is concerned, I would wish him well. And
we'll play free safety.
Then I would have either If Bobby McCain left, then there's a choice of either putting Tankersley back there.
Don't even care at that point.
Yeah, but you got all different types of choices there. You might be able to put Nick Needham back there. You could put anybody back there, free safety.
Yeah, I know.
That's on the roster to fill that void. If you're getting a strong safety in Jamal Adams, I mean, you could move Rowe. Maybe you move Rowe to free safety. Maybe in certain packages. I mean, there's so many different ways you could go.
Of course, Rowe got to move because he's gonna be the strong. Jamal gonna be strong.
Yeah. So that's why I say he would have to move to free safety, or if he's not willing to, then hey, reality could sink in one or two ways. Either you move and still play, or you are the third or fourth cornerback and getting maybe 20% of the snaps that you were getting last year. So which way you want it?
Listen, I'll say, I hear you, man. I'll say this. First of all, the many scenarios. See, what people have to realize is one beautiful thing is that the Miami Dolphins do have a lot of options and scenarios. You know, a lot of teams are limited right now to a simple reality of how much money they have and how many assets they have. And many teams don't even have the assets that we still have, even after this draft. We have the money next year and the assets to bring, and the money right now, technically, to bring this guy in. Here's how I look at it, because there's a lot I want to talk about in this regard, Dwayne. I want to start here. First off, I want to dispel this wish list that came out, okay? Of the seven teams that he would play for. You're getting traded. There's no such thing as a wish list. Because if you don't go to your wish list, you're stuck. And if you want out, you're going to go wherever you get traded. So people, this whole wish list thing, a lot of time is driven by the media, but sometimes players do put out a wish list because they're trying to entice one of those teams because they do want to win. They want to go to a great situation, and they want their stock to be very high. The problem is with Jamal Adams, he might be coming to the realization that wherever he's traded, he already know he's not getting a deal right away. He's going to get traded on that tag, and he's going to get a contract in the offseason, kind of like Tunsil, right?
Yeah.
He's still going to have to play. So what he wants to do is go to a team that's going to not only where he feels he can ball out, but he's going to have great teammates surrounding him so that he's going to look good regardless. And that's going to help and increase his stock as well if he does become an unrestricted free agent or the team wants to re-sign him to the big deal. So he wants to go to the perfect situation. You don't want to be a guy coming on your contract year playing for a bummish team, because even though he still made his honors with Pro Bowl and All Pro, even though he still was able to make those feats, he don't want to bet on doing that again with the Jets. If they suck, he's going to be overlooked in some cases. So
what is the better situation? Do you play for a team you don't want and possibly make the Pro Bowl or not and don't get the publicity, or you play for a winning situation, a up-and-coming team that is more than likely going to have a winning culture, and on top of that, still be in a position to where your play is so in fact impactful that you cause them to get into the playoffs, and you still can get your All-Pro and Pro Bowl selections, and then you can parlay that into a bigger contract or longer contract, whether it's with the Dolphins or with some other team. So I'm looking at this from the player side of it, where can I maximize my benefits the most for this season going into a contract year, and that may not be in New York. That may be in Miami or whatever other team that he has on his wish list. It's just a matter. That's his thinking. Now the team, they may be looking at what team has the most attractive assets to and for us. So that's where, although he being Jamal Adams may have a wish list, his wish list may not coincide or jibe with ultimately what the Jets see as the teams with the most, right, and see what they may have as the most advantageous trade partner to deal with.
Somebody will trade for him. And it may not be one of those 7 teams that the Jets will even do business with. And another thing, if they're bitter, they don't, Adam Gase is a prime example of an individual that want to send players where they don't want to go. He did it to he's proven that. He does not want to send you where you want to go because you don't want to play for him. So listen, like Adrian Gray put this comment on, and I want to talk about it. He said, I think even if Jamal was interested in us, no way thinks they'll do it. Are you talking about the Dolphins or the Jets? Because I couldn't imagine Miami not entertaining this, because let's be straight here. Where is our biggest hole on this team right now? Like clearest, an undeniable hole.
Safety position.
That's it. Everything else you could debate. But there are our number one just clear hole. He said the Jets. Okay, well, we'll talk about that too. But our clearest hole is the safety position, right? If these guys play the way that they played last year, I don't even care if they improve a little bit. Nobody who's a real Dolphin fan that follows this team can confidently say that next year in the draft, in the early pick, or free agency with big money, are we not going to address the safety position? Who's going to say that? Who's going to say that with next year, right? At least right now, because who knows? We might have guys on the roster now that become all pro, shock the world. But as of right now, a part of the plan is next step, safety position. Next step is safety position. And guys, it doesn't get any better than this. Having over $50 million next year. And then we have to ask ourselves, well, how much is Jamal Adams worth? What is his contract? What is the money that he's looking for? That's one of the main questions. But I could actually see the Miami Dolphins offering a second and a fourth for Jamal Adams. Yep. I could see the Dolphins offering a second and a Devon Godchild for a Devontae Adams. Y'all always get mad at me, but let me tell you something. Xavier Howard's value just went up. He got cleared. I could see the Miami Dolphins entertaining at least an Xavier Howard for a Jamal Adams straight up, because Jamal Adams' value, his trade value just weakened because he asked that he wanted out. The Jets can't get too much. They're not going to get this big haul. And when you say the Jets wouldn't do it, who is Adam Gase's boy in our secondary right now? You mean to tell me Xavier Howard ain't his boy? I'm just saying, I ain't trying to even stir up controversy. I'm just talking real talk here. Is that not his boy?
That is correct.
Is that a Flores guy? No, that's an Adam Gase guy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get that straight now. Let's get that straight.
So would you propose this? X for Adams and a 4th round pick?
So in essence, we would just be giving up a 4th round pick. Because
you move Igbenogany to starting cornerback, maybe a year early, but you move him, and then you
got
also
need him
have
as
a
the
year,
backup just in case.
Yep, and you have a year to determine whether Adams is a bona fide team player in our system, or if not, you can already say that we need to focus on safety, or we need to focus on another safety in free agency. After that year of having him in the system, and maybe you win him over and he signs a long-term deal, and you're already a year ahead of plan with the cornerback situation, and therefore then maybe, just maybe, you could focus that first or second round asset on a tight end or a running back instead of a safety. Or you get another cornerback, top 10. If the Texans fall to where we would like them to fall in the season, maybe we get another top 10 pick, and we get another top 10 cornerback in the draft to replace what we lost with X. I mean, I'm not saying that I want to trade X, that he's a bad player or anything like that. I'm just opening up to all the possibilities that are out there.
That's what I guess bothers me. It's almost like people act like no players are on limit. I mean, are
off limits.
Off limits because
untouchables.
Like, why can't you make a deal that's gonna make the team better? Like people are like, come on, I know it's two different positions, but I don't know. Right now, if you were to remove X, put Noah at the corner, and bring in Jamal Adams, we are better than not bringing in Jamal Adams and just keeping X.
And who's to say that if you trade X, you bring in Igbenogany? Maybe Nick Needham is the one who wins that job. So you don't know. I understand. I see Quint Riddle say he wants to see X and Adams in the back in the secondary. So I understand that, but you have to look at what the Jets might want in a trade for Jamal Adams to make it where he can be acquired. You brought up Bobby McCain. You brought up Devon Godchild. Those are all assets that contractually would be a good way to get rid of a situation, but it's all dependent on what the Jets may want. And if it's Adams or X, as far as, that's the trade proposal and that's the only thing, now you have to sit and ponder and say, do I want to give up on X or not? Does it fit? Does it work? Can I make it work with Igbenogany or Needham as the main number 1A, 1B, 2 press man coverage cornerback? Can I make it work that way? Can I make it work with X, Jones, Adams, and Rowe as the 4 main secondary guys, with Rowe playing the free safety role? Can I work it with X, Jones, and Adams with Bobby McCain? Can I work it with Igbenogany as the free safety? Those are all decisions that the GM and the coach, after maybe looking at film and looking at the culture of the team, whether it can work or not. So they have to do their due diligence. So Quint Riddle, I understand you may want to see A, X, and J in there at the same time on the same team. It might not be plausible just because of what the Jets want.
Man, this man had 6 sacks from the strong safety position last year. Our sack leader had 5.
Yep. And let me tell you, he is smart. He is smart on reading the run and performing the run stops as well in the strong safety position. Okay, I've seen film of him on shows with Game Pass, and he is breaking down tendencies and things that he saw that I was like, wow, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. I mean, I hated to say it for a Jet because he's a Jet player, but I was like, wow, that's pretty good.
Finn Strong crazy trying to work this crystal ball in Jamal Adams.
You know,
Y'all killing me, man. Don't make me laugh, man.
I mean,
Oh,
when you think about it, you know, Jamal Adams would be a better replacement for what we lost in Minkah Fitzpatrick, and we would be getting that replacement a year earlier in the program, so that rebuild, so that way you could see really and truly then what you're missing, what you may need to add going forward if you had kept Minkah, but now you have Jamal Adams. So now you could really see with the players that we added on the defensive line and in the linebacker core, what do we now need? What is that missing piece for, like Vic would say, for 2021, what Havoc would say, we're all building for 2021. Well, this would be an addition that we weren't even thinking about for 2020, but we got it for 2020, and we could better evaluate what our needs are and what the capabilities of the systems are with a player of Jamal Adams' magnitude.
Man, I wouldn't be surprised, Dwayne, if Miami just don't call Gase and say, "Hey, we have Houston's next year first, or our next year first." Just that's it. No more, no less. We have the first. You want to do it or not? Would that get it done?
I think that and a player. That and a player.
Don't forget, he came out publicly and said, "Trade me." The value goes down. He came out publicly. There's been really good players getting traded for freaking 4th and 5th round picks because they came out publicly and said, "Trade me." They know that they're in a debacle. You're not gonna sit there and wait that out and do what you do in that regards, especially now that the season could even be threatened. Because if you let the season be threatened and that year goes by, he's free and you got nothing for him.
That's an interesting concept, because you have to wonder whether the league would count this year towards seniority and towards free agency if the season was to be scrubbed.
I believe so, because the league year started.
Yeah. Well, I know the league year started, but I bet you a lot of GMs would be clamoring like, "Man, we're gonna lose a year of this player. We lose his last year. You know, maybe that's not the best situation."
But we're talking about contracts. You can't shove a player. If I'm committed to plans for you until 2020, you cannot tell me just because of what happened that contract has to push forward to 2021. That's a casualty of the contract. The players union would never let the player. No, legally they wouldn't have a basis. The players union would never lose that one, because you cannot extend it just because of a natural event. You have to prepare as a business for the natural event, and that's your loss.
And guess what? As a result of that, if that was the case, you know, you had a whole bunch of free agents with a year coming off a year where nothing was ventured and nothing was gained. It may not be in their best situation to go out. They may want to re-sign. That might make those players more eager to re-sign with their current team, and thus depress the market a little bit for those players who want to leave. It's a funny situation, because both sides could show some advantages and some disadvantages to the situation. Mm-hmm. That's a tough one, but you do bring up that prospect of having lost that year, what teams would do, and maybe they make a trade now, and especially for somebody like Jamal Adams, who's showed unwillingness to want to stick around, trade that asset now, get something, even if it's something that they can't use in 2020, they can use in 2021 or 2022. Meanwhile, for the Dolphins situation, even if the season is scrubbed, going into 2021, if this is solved by then, hopefully, that going into the draft and you have a strong safety already on the roster that you've signed more than likely, because you're not going to make that trade unless you're willing to sign them.
Without the deal, yeah.
So you'd have that strong safety, and you would by then be able to identify other weaknesses or chinks in the roster that you want to replace, and maybe instead of drafting a strong safety in the first or second round, you maybe draft a strong safety in the fifth or sixth round and choose another place to focus that first or second round chip on another position.
Well, I want to address this too. Mob Rule says salary cap hell is in our future if we keep bringing in high-end players, too many 9s and 10s, and at a non-premium position at safety. Not a good move, in my opinion. First off, let's get something straight here.
The salary cap is not hell.
Well, first he says too many 9s and 10s. Let's get something straight, and this might spark a debate, because I'm ready for this action. I'm ready to argue this. What 9s and 10s we got on our roster? Let's keep it 100 here now. Let's keep it 100. We got a lot of 7s and 8s, but you are not going to get past 2 or 3 9s and 10s on our entire roster right now. You are not going to get past 2 or 3 9s or 10s. As a matter of fact, we ain't got no 10s. We don't have a single 10 on our roster. Let's get that straight now. Byron Jones is a 9. Byron Jones is a 9. Let's get that straight. Byron Jones, what will make Byron Jones a 10 is adding the element of being a turnover machine. That's what would make him a 10. What would make Xavier Howard a 10 is adding the element of having closer coverage, being a better cover corner. See, it's the yin and the yang. Byron got the coverage, X got the turnovers. Ain't no 10s on this roster, ladies and gentlemen. Ain't no 10s on this roster. And when you talk 9s, that's Byron Jones. And y'all can call me a hater all you want. I don't even put X as a 9. I'll be generous and say 8.5.
Let's do it this way. We consider 9s and 10s all pros, not just Pro Bowlers, all pros. So 9s and 10s are all pros, perennial all pros.
No, we don't.
This roster, we don't have any. Okay, we have 7s, we have 8, we have young players that are on the precipice of pushing towards 7s and 8s. We don't have perennial starters. So we definitely don't have perennial starters on the offensive or defensive line. We have one starter, or I guess the best way to say it would be we have repeat players that have played well at certain positions, but they haven't done it for the Dolphins yet.
Dwayne.
So the Byron Joneses, the Kyle Van Noys, they're quality players, but because they have not done it under this system, you can't put them at a 9 or 10 right off the bat. You have to put them in a situation where we have to see what happens.
Is Jamal Adams a 10, Dwayne?
Jamal Adams is a 9.
You don't have him as a 10?
I don't have him as a 10 only because has he been Well,
All
maybe I'm
pro.
mistaken.
All
Has he
pro
been?
first team.
Has he been that consecutively?
All team.
Has he done it?
Hold on. Let me look
Did
up.
he
Let me
do
look
it?
up the resume.
Yes. Yep. Because he's been in the league now 3 years.
He's had 2 consecutive Pro Bowls, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But let me look at all pro. Okay. Let me go ahead and pull it up right now, because I don't want to misspeak, because this is too
big an issue, too big a distinction for us to be mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the criteria that I'm putting out, if he's perennial,
2 times. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, he's a 2-time All Pro. So he went to the Pro Bowl twice, 18 and 19. In 2018, he was second team All Pro. In 2019, he was first team All Pro.
Okay, so that's the description of a 10. Period. That's the description of a 10, because he started out on fire, and he's continued and made that fire even bigger and brighter. So he's a 10. Now, are there any other players on the Dolphins roster that are a 9 or a 10? There's maybe one.
Who made an All-Pro? Who made an All-Pro on this roster?
I'm talking about Byron Jones.
Who made an All-Pro on this roster?
But nobody else. Nobody else. Nobody's made All-Pro. And see, you could be a Pro Bowler. There's a difference between being a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro. Pro Bowl, you could be the 3rd, 4th, 5th alternate. You can and still have that Pro Bowl distinction. But make it All-Pro, that's voted on by not just that's voted on a much more higher criteria. And you make All-Pro, you are 9.5 to 10.
Listen, what I love about Jamal Adams' game is I don't see anybody better at the position in the box. Ain't nobody better at the position inside the box. 6 sacks as a strong safety. Look at the stats on tackle for loss. I don't even have all the stats up. Need to pull them up. But look at the tackle for loss. I ain't talking about tackles. I said tackle for loss. This kid lives in your backfield. And he lives in that secondary laying them hits. He has the complete package, man. He has the complete package. He's that Swiss Army knife that you can use as a weapon, coming from everywhere in the defense, coming straight down the middle, coming from the outside, disguising coverage. You can put him on the line of scrimmage and still he can make up playing the safety position, dropping back. This is what it's about. This is what it's about. This is your ultimate, strong safety. And then for him to be so young, that's what people have to understand as well. For him to be so young, I don't think people understand that either. Do they realize how many years he's been in the league? Do they put that together? How many years this kid has been in the league? Some people don't even know that, man.
I'm telling you, when you can get a player still in their first contract that is an All-Pro and still can be better and has the willingness to be a study to be better, and you can possibly get him in the prime of his career, year 4, 5, 6, 7, when you're at your best, because now you have the physical tools as well as the mental skill to be able to perform at a high level. And you're getting that player in year 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's an opportunity that you don't want to waste.
Man. This man, they sent him on 90 blitzes last year. You know that?
Yeah.
Man.
And the Jets had a more than adequate defensive front, and for him to be sent on the blitzes that much shows you the faith that they had in him to be able to perform and get the job done.
Yes, man. And he is a better Rashad Jones. Anybody want to debate that?
You know, the fact that we even having this conversation about whether or not he's on the same level as Rashad Jones shows me that Rashad Jones could have been so much better if he would have been more, if he'd have had a healthier career and utilized in a more equitable manner. But that being said, you're getting someone who's a notch above Rashad Jones in the prime of his career. That's the difference.
You know, it's interesting. Rashad Jones never made an all-pro team.
That's why I said a notch above. Now, Rashad Jones could have been all-pro, but again, when you're utilized more in just when you have to be utilized as the run stopper for a defense that had weak linebackers, that probably, even though he had a lot of tackles, he didn't make the spectacular plays because of his usage to be able to, in the secondary, to be able to warrant being an all-pro. Because he was utilized more in the run stopping abilities.
Yeah. Now, well, I mean, that's tough though, Dwayne, because that's like, is Jamal Adams not used in that too, though?
But Jamal Adams makes those plays in the secondary because he's also utilized in that manner.
Both.
More so, right. And because he was not put in those situations where he was out of position. And when I say out of position, I mean when the defensive call comes in and it is a run stop, because you're so concerned about stopping the run that you call that cover one and you're rotating the safety down, and it ends up being a pass, and it's a long completion. That completion average works against you when it's time for those votes for all pro, because as a secondary overall, your completion percentage or your completion for yards is higher than it normally would, because you're in a scheme or a play that puts you out of position. That's why I was talking about making those plays where in the secondary, where he could have made maybe if he made 2 more interceptions a year, he would have been all pro. But because he was always utilized a lot more in the run stop, because the linebackers were less than adequate, the defensive line was less than adequate, he's called up more in cover 1 or cover 0, then they're out of position to stop those big passing plays. In this in what I'm looking at as far as the situation with Jamal Adams, he'll be called on to do a lot of run stops, but also because you have those cover corners, there's going to be a lot more opportunities for.
It's a free day all day for him.
Yeah.
He'll have a field day. He'll put up better stats than he did with the Jets.
And be more impactful, because those throws are going to be coming a lot faster as far as the reads are concerned from the quarterback, which means there's more likely for a mistake, which is more likely for a tip pass, which is more likely for an errant pass, which puts the ball, gives the safeties more of an opportunity to make interceptions.
And another thing, see, he's an example of a first round pick, 6th overall, that was worth it. He's an example. First round pick, number 6th overall. That was worth it, man. You know, all these busts that come in the first round. And for Powerhouse, TJ said Miami isn't in his top 7, though. That means nothing. When you're getting traded, you can have your preference. That doesn't mean that's where you're going. So that whole notion of his top 7 ain't nothing but added bit of clickbait. First of all, half the teams that he proposed can't even do it. Half the team he proposed can't even do it. You think
what were the teams? What were the teams?
Number one, the Cowboys.
Uh-huh.
Look at what they're going through with Dak. You think they're going to be able to sign
They
Jamal?
They can't afford him. They couldn't afford Byron Jones.
You think Seattle's going to be able to do it when they already going back and forth with Clowney over $3 million extra dollars?
Not likely.
You know, I mean, most of these teams, man, he named all the contenders, Dwayne. Mm-hmm. And that's rightfully so, because he feels like if he has to play another year, he wants to make sure the team has great success, because when the team has great success, his pockets aren't going to dip. His stock isn't going to fall. He can go out there and be half the player he was last year, but as long as they are contending for a Super Bowl, his value remains high.
Now, let's talk about it in another aspect.
Mm-hmm.
In the NBA and in Major League Baseball, they have something called no trade contract, no trade clauses in their contracts. Mm-hmm. It is very rare that you have no trade clauses in an NFL contract unless you are a quarterback. Those are the few times that you have a no trade to a certain team, to certain teams. So it wouldn't matter if the Dolphins are on that list or not. If the Jets deem the Dolphins as the best opportunity to get value for an asset, they would be foolish not to trade Jamal Adams to the Dolphins. And Jamal Adams would not have the same say so in the matter that he would if he was in the NFL, in the NBA, or in Major League Baseball, because those contracts, those players can call out specific teams they don't want to be traded to.
Let me give you the prices. Let me give you the salary cap space right now for teams, okay? He said the Ravens. The Ravens currently have $9.1 million in cap space, and all rookies aren't signed, by the way.
And your boy Engraving is already dropping a show talking about that as well. But he's not slow on the trigger, that's for sure.
You have to, but because sometimes a team might say, "Hey, we might need to add a player in this trade to clear space," and because they got a few players that they might even want to clear out with contracts. Yep. So these are plausible. But if we talk about just straight up giving a draft pick and having to pay the guy, Ravens ain't got it. Ravens don't have it. All right, what about
they might be willing to trade Judon for Jamal Adams, because Judon is their franchise, signed a franchise tag. But go ahead, continue.
Right now, the Cowboys have $11 million, and that's with Dak on a franchise tag if he signs it. If they actually sign him on that $40 million deal, you might as well add another 7 to it, and they'll have $4 million left. That's the Cowboys situation. All right. Then you have the Texans. The Texans, they got $20.7 million, but you already know who they trying to sign.
They got Deshaun coming down the pipe soon.
They got that coming down the pipe, right? Then you got the Chiefs,
and they got to think about keeping David Johnson happy, even though he may not be. It's to be determined whether he's the quality asset that they're hoping for, and if he is, they got to have some money set aside for that as well.
All of these, the Chiefs, they have $6.2 million left. Luckily, they still got Mahomes for about 2 more years. Well, how many more years is Mahomes? 1?
They got him. They got him for one. For let me see.
1 more.
He sat one. He played one the year before. Then this year. So this is his 4th year, and he's on the 5-year rookie quarterback contract. But his option is coming up. This is option year.
And let me tell you something. Their spending cap is 205, and they're stretching it thin. See, here's what a lot of people don't understand. You can move your salary cap. Like, even though the cap is 200, if you want, you could spend 190 this year, and that will make your cap next year 210. So you can play with it by years. And the Chiefs right now, they're already at a 205, which means they're already at the latter part of it. And then they only have 6 available. Oh, when they sign Mahomes, they really got to purge contracts.
Yep.
They got to purge contracts all through the roster. Man, that's going to be interesting. I can't wait for that one to go down. Then you have the Eagles. What is the Eagles situation? The Eagles, the Eagles got money. The Eagles got $24.7 million. They players. They are players.
Yeah, they're players, but they also need to get they need to find a replacement for Brooke, who's out for the year with an Achilles tendon. That left guard, they may have to put some of that spending money towards Wolford, the Saints.
But he's not that expensive.
Guard.
He's not that expensive. What was he saying? 7 or 8 million, maybe. So it just depends, man. But the Eagles, they're still players. That's a decision they would have to make. Who else is it? 49ers. The 49ers, middle of the pack, 15.6 million available right now. 15.6. Now, remember, most teams like to go into the season with at least about 7-8 million just in case players get hurt. They got to replace some guys. Who else is it? So, I mean, I'm not going to say that they're out of contention because the 49ers, again, you don't have to sign him on a deal this year, but you do have to probably commit to something this year. But this is the way their salary caps are lined up. Then who do we have? Seahawks is the last team. And what are they looking like? The Seahawks are in the middle of the pack. They're about 14 million. Man, how can the Patriots be the team with the least money? They got 1.3 million right now. All them 7 and 8s. A roster full of 7 and 8s, man. They don't feel that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Wow. So it's going to be interesting. My thing is, some of these teams can make this deal, but it's really hugging them tight. It's really hugging them tight. And some of them have to make deals. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen, you want to give up a first and a third or whatever it's going to cost for Jamal Adams and have to pay him that buku money, and you may not even have it like that? That's what you have to consider. That's what you have to consider. So these ideal 7 teams, he picked everyone that's a contender. Ravens, contender. Cowboys, with a little bit of help, contender. Texans, been a contender. Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers, Seahawks. All contenders, all of them playoff teams except the Cowboys. That's why he came out with that list. Because this is a contract year and you would love to go to the playoffs and be recognized in the playoffs so that you can, matter of fact, he knows that if he goes to one of those teams, his asking price probably goes up by 2, 3, 4 million if they go to a championship round or go to a Super Bowl.
And that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying before, that he wants to be in a situation where he's playing games on a national level consistently and also getting to the playoffs so that he can showcase his talents on a national setting. Now, is it likely that the Jets are going to be able to give him that? No. That is why possibly a trade to Miami could work, because at the very least, late in the season, the Dolphins have that ability to have a few games flexed. And if they're successful, that's good for his contract situation. And if they make the playoffs, even more so, because now you're playing on the national showcase.
Man,
so the more exposure you get, the more money you can make.
Yeah, that's true. And
let me see what Powerhouses wrote. It is a coincidence that we just reported that Howard will play when the season starts, right when Adams reports the teams he wants to go to.
Say, is it a coincidence?
Yep. Is it? It depends on who released what. Now we know that X's lack of being suspended was released by the team. That is not something that was staged or planned out long term or said, okay, we're going to announce it for a particular reason, other than the fact that to let everybody know that he hasn't been suspended. But the Jamal Adams
24 years old
plan, maybe just because he's trying to get out of that situation, and maybe it's not only to draw attention from those 7 teams, but also a player like the Dolphins, get their attention, to get their GM to actively or indirectly or directly seek what would be necessary to make that trade. So is it a coincidence? I don't think it was just happenstance or a unplanned event. Who was that sent that up? That message?
That was the donation.
Powerhouse. That was Powerhouse. That was Powerhouse. Yeah, Powerhouse TJ. But I don't think that it was just a coincidence. I think that was planned on Jamal Adams's representative part, or Jamal Adams himself, to broadcast out to certain teams that, hey, I'm available, even though it may not be the situation where the Dolphins are number 1 on his list, but the fact that an asset that could be in a possible trade if the Dolphins needed to, and Xavier Howard is cleared to play the full season without being suspended. That's just another little nugget or another cherry in that pie, or on top of that sundae.
Man, this is interesting, man. I could just imagine, that breaking news actually coming through. I mean, the first thing that would hit my mind is, what was the cost? Because that's all that matters at the end of the day. What was the cost? Yep. And just for everybody right now, the Jets, they're reporting that the Jets have $24.7 million in cap space. I know somebody else was saying something different, but what I'm seeing is 24.7. Somebody said 15 recently. If it is 15, please send that to me so I can have a more updated. But what I'm seeing right now is about 25 pretty much. 24.7, okay? So if that's wrong, show me where it is, so that where it's wrong, so that I can make sure I give accurate information in that regards.
That just makes them more able to take on a large contract in a trade, i.e. Xavier Howard, or be more amenable to contract renegotiation in getting a player back in a trade, i.e. a Devon Godchild or a Bobby McCain, or whomever the Dolphins would deem a tradable asset.
Man, this is crazy. Now, their cap space with their top 51 players might be different, though. So remember, a lot of these things are projected off of 55. So it just depends, man. It just depends.
Yeah.
So their top.
Yeah, because a lot of these salary cap software and outlets may not have recalculated for a 53 or 55-man roster. So, but your 54th, 55th person is not somebody who's going to make a lot of money when you think about it. You know, that's your 7th, 8th linebacker, or your 6th or 7th wide receiver, you know, or your 5th or 6th safety. So, or your 5th or 6th running back. They're not going to be making $6-7 million a year towards the cap. So it's not that big a deal, but it is a contributing factor to maybe some team being able to fit a player in return, so that they would have to give up or push somebody off the roster because of accepting a bigger contract. But in the Dolphins situation, they have the cap space to be able to accept that player of a Jamal Adams with his contract demand and still be able to work with the current roster and not have to trade anybody, but or cut somebody just because they accepted his contract. It would be more because of a talent or scheme fit that they would release that person, rather than just because they accepted Jamal Adams on the roster.
And guys, don't forget, hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, punch that subscribe button. Thank y'all for tuning in to TD Fins Talk, man. This is an interesting conversation because, listen, we got some cap space. We know we need a safety bad. Let's get that straight now. Bad. I just can't. I'm not one of those individuals that overlooks it. Then you also have Simmons over in Denver, who is a potential person to become available. I mean, the options might be there, but will we be waiting till free agency and play out what we have now? Or would we actually considering making that transition to go get this guy? That's what the main question is. I know it's a lot of things working against us getting him. Like, number one, it's a division opponent. Why would they want that drama twice a year? Because he's definitely going to make them pay. He is definitely going to make them pay. Okay? Division rival.
It's about time. It's about time that the Dolphins got or were able to acquire some division rivals asset
a
that
good
was
one,
in the prime of its career, rather than a asset that was well past their prime, i.e. a Ray Lucas, i.e. a Thurman Thomas. You know, it's about time that the Dolphins are starting to garner the attention of players to the point where they can get them in the middle of their prime rather than 2 years beyond their prime.
That would be sweet. We haven't been able to execute any of those that I remember, like prime players that with that type of talent in the division just doesn't happen for us. It just doesn't happen for us. But times are changing, times are changing. But we shall see, man. All I know is he's an available player. You still got good available players out there still on the free agent market, but this is one who fits the profile of what we've been doing in free agency and in the draft. Young, good, great at his position, knows the game. That's what we've been doing. We've been getting younger, taking players fresh off of their first contract that's proven, and he's not even off of his, but he's proven. He's proven. So,
I mean, when you can, like I said, you can get somebody on the tail end of their first contract that is an all pro, a 9.5 to a 10, depending on how well you want to nitpick and tweak and whatever. But he is definitely a all pro, and you can get him in the midst of his first contract, sign him to a 4-year contract, 5-year contract at the right price, giving him the guarantee money, the 60 to 68, 69% guarantee, and work it in a manner that it doesn't upset the apple cart with respect to the salary cap for going forward. you do it. And it doesn't matter really whether it's a first round draft pick or a second round draft pick. If all things were equal, because that guy is proven, so you would make that trade. But with the situation that he wants to be out, now that helps your bargaining position, because instead of maybe having to go with that first round asset as a possible trade incentive, maybe now you can go with a second and a fourth, like we were discussing earlier, or a second and a fifth, or a second, a fifth, and a player, or a second and in the following draft in 2022, maybe a fourth and a third, whatever the case may be. But you would not want to hesitate if that asset is available to get that asset. Okay. And it would, even if it came from the hated Jets, you would want that asset, especially if it's going to put them in a situation where it hurts them. Okay.
Man, and if somebody asks how much cap we got right now, we got about 20 million, man. Let me give you the exact number. We have 20,700,000. That's our cap space right now. But one thing that y'all need to be aware of, Miami Dolphins hold one of the highest dead cap numbers in the league. I think we're like number 4 in the whole league, and we're at $23.5 million of dead cap space. We still playing Rashard Jones, the last $10 million of dead cap counting against us. Rashard Jones this year. Minka Fitzpatrick, we got $10 million of dead cap. Because people have to understand those signing bonuses don't go nowhere. The team eats that. Not the team he went to, but the team he signed with. You got to eat that. So we still got dead cap.
But next year, the Dolphins are in a very good salary cap position for
zero dead cap next year. But we have 53 million available next year as of right now. And it ain't many players on this roster that's getting a new deal this next offseason. That's a good thing. Next offseason, we don't have many players getting a new deal, do we? One or two guys?
You might have McMillan if he deserves it. You might have Godchild. But other than that, team is set. The team is set.
And that's if they keep Godchild.
Their players.
That's if they keep. But you know what's scary, man? Let me tell you the teams that do have cap space next year. The Colts got 113 million.
That GM has done an outstanding job of bringing talent in with second and third round picks. And third round picks, he has built the offensive line.
Here's one,
and a linebacking core that is scary.
They doing some smart moves over there. Here's one you got to worry about, Dolphin fans. I don't care if this is an up or down year for the Patriots. This is what you got to worry about. Next year, 90 million. 90 million in cap space. So I'm gonna be honest. If you ask me, the Patriots did what we did last year. They went ahead and said, okay, you could go. They let a lot of the good players go. They kept some things intact, but 90 million in cap space next year. That's why you got to get it now. You don't think the Patriots, if Jamal Adams ends up going forward the next year as a free agent, you don't think they ain't gonna pair him with the guys they already got in that secondary?
They surely will make an attempt, because Bill always has valued good secondary play.
Man.
And teaming Jamal Adams up with some other free agent cornerback, that would be his plan. That's his MO, always, to be strong on the middle and the outsides. And when I say the middle, I'm talking about the nose tackle, the inside linebackers, and the safety with press cut, with the ability to play press on the corners.
Interesting, man. Even next year, the Ravens come up with 66 million. But by then, you know where a big chunk of that is going, right?
Hey, Beer Time Blitz, I understand your glee and your joy over the Tua jersey. I understand. I got mine like 2 days ago, and I wore it on the Tuesday show. Was that Tuesday or Monday? I think it was Tuesday.
Should I go get me
that
one?
was Tuesday. But I'm with you with the glee. Like I said, I wasn't the biggest Tua proponent at 5, but since they did pick him at 5, he's the quarterback or the future quarterback or the current or present quarterback for the Dolphins, whichever way it shakes out. I'm gonna root for him, and I'm happy that you're happy that you got the jersey because it took a long time to arrive. I ordered it the day of the draft, the night of the draft that he was drafted, and I got it probably like 2 days ago. So I understand your happiness, and wear it proudly, man. And let's hope that Tua does his thing eventually and makes that investment in that jersey well. A good return of investment.
He better make it worth it, guys. I think he will, though. I think y'all will be proud of this purchase because the last few purchases that we've made in the first round has disappointed us as I stare over at my Minka jersey. But anyway, but man, this is interesting. Man, he better make it worth it. I think Tua will, though. Tua's going to make all y'all jersey buyers proud. I ain't getting mine until 21 when I make sure because Tannehill, I bought his jersey. And look what happened. And then I bought I bought Ryan Fitzpatrick. Man, not Ryan, Minka Fitzpatrick jersey, and look what happened. So I done learned my lesson, man. Hey, let me bring this up. This is what's interesting to me. It's kind of weird, okay? When I look at teams like the Chiefs next year, right? I look at their salary cap. They have about $35 million in cap space next year. And that's with 47 players under contract. And does Mahomes get his deal next year?
They should get it done as soon as possible. I would be one wanting to get it done now because if you could get it done under these circumstances, it's a lot better than waiting for next year. Plus, at least you have a year to evaluate which players you would want to re-sign and which players you want to let go, rather than having to do that same evaluation and have to sign Mahomes. With that.
Here's what's tough for them because next year they have $35 million, but they have 47 guys under contract. And he's one of those guys, and basically he's going to eat every penny of that up. Because if you take what he's making now and add it with that number, that's about where his salary is going to be. Okay. Probably 40, 41, 42 million. I truly do believe he's going to hit those marks. But then they have no money to fill the rest of the roster. So out of the 47 people they have signed right now, they're going to have to probably trade or cut and take dead cap, probably about 8, 9, 10 different people. They're going to have to trade and eat dead cap or cut and eat dead cap about probably 10 different people so that they could bring in less expensive people to fill that roster out. And a lot of it's going to be via the draft.
You would think that at least 3 people would be filled by the draft, and you could probably trade another 3 to 4 players and get equal value, but less money. That's the hope. And then those other 3, you just have to take an L and get them. That's where your scouting department would come in. Hopefully could fill that void for those 3 players.
Interesting.
That would be a plan, but again, they're Kansas City, and it's go Dolphins time. So
I know, right? I know. And then
I'm not going to cry over their situation. I might want to. That might be a situation where the Dolphins can pick up a quality player because of their contract situation. just like the way the Patriots picked up Wes Welker by signing him to that contract, where if he played more than 3 games in the state of Florida, that he would have to get paid X amount of more dollars. That was an unfair contract, but they took advantage of the rule. And the fact that Wes Welker was a free agent, they got him. And look what happened. He helped them win a Super Bowl. But I'm looking at taking advantage of that same situation with the Chiefs. If the Chiefs can't sign a quality player, oh well, let's get them on our team.
And now I look at teams like the Texans. Now they're in the worst situation actually. Next year they got 56 players under contract, and all they got is $21 million in cap space. But that they don't even have enough for Deshaun Watson, so they're gonna have to purge the roster heavily to even make it happen. But you know what's interesting? The cap tells you that this is probably Drew Brees' last year in the NFL. This might be Drew Brees' last year in the NFL because next year the Saints run a negative $34 million.
Yeah.
Negative 34. They probably have that plan because they aren't going to. Drew Brees probably isn't going to be a Saint next year. Yeah. And that's a real reality. Man, I don't know how the Eagles have a negative 50 million next year. They're the only 2 teams that are in a negative, which means next year there are some big contracts that will not be on that team, even though they are under contract. There's a lot of non-guaranteed money that they're about to cut next year. And those are the type of teams that you look at right now to see what players that are good that have non-guaranteed money coming to the end of their contract that you can scoop up and you can take.
Yep. You take advantage of somebody else's situation.
Yes, the Saints and the Eagles, 2 teams, and the Falcons too. They're close to that scenario as well next year. Haven't even gone into free agency, and you have $0 available for next year. So those teams will be looking throughout this season to start to make moves to start clearing cap for the next year. So the Eagles, the Saints, and the Falcons, you can look for those teams to be making some slight subtle moves throughout the season to start clearing cap, trading players, and different stuff like that. It's inevitable. They have to.
Yeah. I mean, the Saints, they've had a roster full of quality players for the last 4 or 5 years. So I give kudos to the GM of the Saints for being able to keep a majority of that talent that they've had for those years. Other than Mark Ingram, you can't really think of somebody on the offense that they let go early without having a replacement for him already on the roster, i.e. Kamara. But sometimes the bill eventually comes due, and whether or not you have a balloon payment or you stretch those payments out over 25, 30 years, or you have where you don't have to make a payment for 6 months on an initial loan. Eventually the bill comes due, and it's what you do after that will determine how it goes. And for the Saints and the Eagles, as you said, and the Falcons, there's going to be opportunities for other teams to get quality players from that roster because of their situation. So, and that makes the league go round as well. I mean, there's you need that changeover from roster to roster, just to make the playing field even. So everybody thank Kurt Flood for it. Give props to Kurt Flood, because with free agency, we have this situation. No longer can you stash players for 4 or 5 years like you did in the 60s and 70s. So it's a benefit and a curse at the same time, but it keeps everything equal, and that's why we love the NFL, because it gives every team a chance for hope every year, no matter what.
Yep, and it's the Dolphins' time, though, man. It's time for
That's right.
the
It's
Dolphins.
our time.
It's our time, man. We're not gonna look back. We're gonna make the most of it, man. We have hit that 10 o'clock hour. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, now we if we don't make the trade with XN as an asset, you think about the ability of that defense to put pressure on the opposing QB, where you have a possible run blitzer off the edge. Off out of the box in Adams. You have the press coverage capabilities of Jones and Xavier, and you have the experience coming off the edge from Lawson, Agba. Hopefully Wilkins can get off, and then pressure also from the players of Van Ginkel, Van Noy, Baker, McMillan, Beagle, and I haven't even named all of them, but you think about the prospects, and it's like you hope that there's a way for the season to get off and commence, just because you want to see it. You want to see what Flores and Gerald Alexander can do with the assets they have. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that they're like, man, we're already looking real good, but if we could possibly get a Jamal Adams, oh my goodness, the playbook just opened up probably 6-7 more pages worth of plays just because Jamal Adams is on the field.
Yep. No question about it, man. It's something, man. I ain't gonna lie. This is that moment where you check your phone all the time, because what if you just get that alert that says blockbuster deal, the Miami Dolphins trade for? Come on, man. Man, do you know how crazy that would be? Now, I know some people, it ain't gonna happen. Well, it ain't like we're guaranteed, but do you know how crazy it would be if it did? And that's what it's about, because you never know. You never know who's on the phone making what deal, and man.
Hey, TD, even if I have to do something like this to show my support for the team, I'm going to do it. We're going to do it because the Dolphins are going to be successful this year. We're not going 5-11. We're not going 4-12. We're not going 7-9. We're not going 8-8. We're not going 9-7. We are gonna go win that division. We're gonna win that division. I got a Buffalo Bill fan in my development, and I'm like, you gotta be crazy. We're sweeping the division. And I pulled this out and told him, you keep your social distancing, but I'm still rooting for the Dolphins. Still going to root for the Dolphins. Okay?
All day, every day, man. Listen, man.
So make sure, everybody, you keep your social distancing, but keep your spirits up for the Dolphins.
Yes.
Keep your spirits up for the Dolphins.
No matter what, man, we're going to ride for our team no matter what, no matter the circumstance, regardless of what's going on out here in the world. And we're going to make sure we protect ourselves with, let's go Dolphins, let's go Dolphins, let's go Dolphins, quarantine.
That's right. Go Dolphins, go Dolphins, go Dolphins, go Dolphins, baby. That's right.
16-0, 19-0, anybody? Let's do it.
It's going to end successfully. Yes. It is going to end success. And the thing is, it's going to continue. 2020, we may be looked upon as a surprise team. 2021, we're going to be the team. And 2022, we're going to be the ultimate team. Yes, because we're possibly going to be three-peating.
Tampa, here we
go. That's what I say, possible three-peat.
Yes, man. Tampa, here we go. Tampa, here we go. Super Bowl, baby. Man, could you imagine that, Dwayne?
Oh man, you know what? I always imagine having to be able to go watch a Super Bowl in Miami with the Dolphins playing
I know.
in Miami. Home field advantage, the true home field advantage. I'm hoping that we will get that someday soon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that would be something, especially if we could have it where there's no social distancing, where we can celebrate in a healthy manner, revel in the moment. You know, that would be a wonderful thing.
Yep.
That would be a wonderful thing. Okay.
It's gonna happen, and we all gonna be there together, man. We gonna all be there together. We gonna have our own section, baby. We gonna have our own.
Man.
We gonna figure it out.
Oh man.
We gotta get there
That's
first.
right.
Our team gotta take care of business. Hey guys, make sure that you punch that like button before we get out of here. Hit that like button. We want to try to get over 100 likes. We had almost 150 people hanging out with us. But we have 87 likes. So punch that like button. Let's get over 100 and let YouTube.
That's right. Support that algorithm. That algorithm. Make that algorithm work for the show.
Yeah, so they
spread
know
the
that
news.
we're here.
Spread the word.
Exactly. Bingo. So hit that like button on your way out. Now we're at 92. Y'all hit that like button. Show your love and support, guys. I appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Man, what a good one, Dwayne. If y'all want to make sure y'all wake up with TD in the morning, because tomorrow morning we're going to be going over the CBS Sports projected starters. The projected starters for the Miami Dolphins, and that's going to be interesting because they listed Tua as the starter, and I also have another clip to play with that. A good compelling.
Did they put Balaj in?
No,
Did they put Balaj in as a starter?
They actually had Mark Walton as a starter. No, but for real, they had Matt Breida getting the starting job. So we're gonna talk about it in the morning, guys. So wake up with TD is gonna be that roster, the projected depth chart, and then we're gonna listen to some clips that support even more reason why Tua should start. It's gonna be very interesting. We're gonna talk about it tomorrow morning. So wake up with TD as we get 99 likes. We got one more person that's gonna push the like button on their way out. But thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. And thank you for tuning in to Thursday Night Details with Dwayne Wood. And we didn't get into too many details, but it was still worth it. And it was a great conversation. Thank you, Dwayne, as always, man.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, TD. Fin family. Stay up. Fins up. Fins up. Fins up.
Forever, man. We love y'all. Y'all be safe. I'll see y'all in the morning. Peace.
Peace.